Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video recording for this video series that I'm doing with Raw Mama. And today, the reason why I want to come on is to talk about a really important subject, and that is children and behavior. Now, I have so much to say about this, but I'm going to try to condense it as much as I can. If you have any questions, you want to hear more, ask me. You know, I will do something more longer in regard to any particular topic that I'm going to be talking about, but you need to hear this. If you are a mom or you are a dad and you struggle with one of your kids and some of the behavior that they're experiencing, please know first and foremost, it is not your fault. And I can't tell you how many people need to hear this, because we go around, number one, we judge ourselves. We judge ourselves as moms, and we say, you know, this is my fault. I should have done this, that, or the other thing, and I should have, could have ate better, or I shouldn't have done this when I was pregnant, or I shouldn't have done this as a mom, or maybe I'm punishing them too much, or maybe I'm not punishing them enough, or, you know, maybe it's their dad's fault. And I like to kind of blame my kids' dads a lot, so you're not alone in that. But the point of this whole video today is that it's not your fault. And can we do something about it? Sure. You know, let's do something about it. And if we can't do something about it, then we can't do something about it. But the bottom line is that you need to know that it's not your fault. When you have a child who, you know, is getting kicked out of class all the time, or when you have a child that is, you know, trying to learn so hard and they're not getting it, or they're getting bullied in school, or maybe they're the bullier, or, you know, what is it that is causing these kids to act like this? And I have proof in a few studies that I'm going to bring up here today that it's not your fault. And can we do a better job at parenting? You know, you can argue that all you want until the cows come home. But the bottom line is that we have been duped. We have been led to believe a certain thing, and so we follow that certain thing, whether it's like a cultural mores that we're listening to, or it's the government that we're listening to, or it's friends and well-meaning family that we're listening to, because there's so much confusion out there. How do we know what's right from wrong half the time? And all we know is that we love our kids, and we're doing the best thing that we possibly can for them. And so you have to know that it's not your fault. So let me just explain a few things here in regards to something that I feel is really important to first talk about. There's a study, and it's called the SCASO study. And you can look this up, SCASO. And what happened in the study is that they took out preservative foods, which is rampant in our culture, and they took out sugar, and just the majority of it. They just took it out from what was a juvenile institution. So you have kids coming from all walks of life, some of the worst abuses and neglect that you can think of, okay? And they brought them to this juvenile institution because they did some things that were wrong, okay? They did some things that weren't. And so as a consequence, they go to this juvenile institution. There was a study that was done. They took away these types of foods, and guess what happened? Violence went down. The amount of restraints that they had to use went down by 75%. And get this, suicide rates that were occurring eliminated 100%. Didn't matter what kind of home they came from. I have seen people come from abusive situations. I have seen people come from some of the worst neglect, and yet they are not always finding themselves in these types of behaviors. We can talk about that all day, but I just want to bring up that there's something to this, you guys. What is happening to the food that we eat that's causing a disconnect from the brain to the gut and to the rest of the body and back to the brain, right? So we put it in our mouth, we feed it, The digestive system is supposed to work. It goes to the brain. It's supposed to feed the rest of the body. We're supposed to be alert. We're supposed to be free of fog. We're supposed to be energetic. We're supposed to have motivation. We're supposed to feel alive. We're supposed to feel a balance of introverted, extroverted, right? We're supposed to sometimes want to be social and have connection, and sometimes we should want to feel alone. That should be a balance. It shouldn't be the extreme in either direction. We have these kids who are, having these major behaviors, meltdowns, temper tantrums, some of the things that we're seeing in the A epidemics, right? What's happening? And I'm here to tell you that it's not your fault. There's something that's happening to our food here in North America. And now it's starting to spread across the world, where even allergies, that's one of the A's, right? Never used to be so rampant. And now you talk to teachers and they're seeing this, like, you can't have peanuts, and now we can't have this kind of nut, and we can't have this. And behaviors, you talk to a teacher who's been around for 50 years, it's not an overdiagnosis, everyone. There's some changes happening with these kids. Can we get better at parenting? Sure, if we're neglecting our kids or abusing our kids, let's talk about that. But what about parents who truly love their kids and this is happening to? Is it their fault? My answer to that is absolutely not. They started replicating that study and just offering nutrients, offering omega-3s, and the same kind of results were happening: less behavior, less suicide, less violence. What we put in our mouths will either feed our brain or starve our brain. And not because we're putting it in our mouth to starve it, but we're putting things in our mouth that's actually creating chemical reactions in our brain that never should be occurring. And they even liken things with sugar and processed foods to sugar, especially, to things like cocaine. It's addictive. Have you ever seen somebody who's addicted to sugar get off of it? What kind of behaviors are you seeing? I'm talking like you felt it too. Some of you listening to this video, you have felt like you've cried because you can't get what you want, and you attach all these stories to it, like, I can't be social anymore, and I don't know what to do anymore. What am I going to do? And people who are addicted to cocaine, who go through these withdrawal symptoms, yes, are the withdrawals worse? Of course. But the emotions of the withdrawals are still all there. The fears surrounding the withdrawals. Well, how can I even have fun anymore? They're all the same. They're attached to the same stories. These kids who are having these behaviors, when you eliminate some of these foods, you guys, you will eliminate some of the behaviors. Will it happen overnight? No. But will it happen? Yes, it will happen. And sometimes it's a matter of getting to the bottom of which foods are causing behaviors. So for my son, my oldest son, behaviors that are caused by bananas, you guys. And you have these IgE responses to allergies. There's an IgE, it's like immunoglobulin E, and that's an immune response. When the body detects something foreign in the body, it'll have hives, and it'll have anaphylactic shock sometimes. And these are the immediate response to an allergic reaction, or it's an immune reaction to an allergen. But there's an IgG response that we don't test in our medical system. And it's called an IgG response. And I know that you can get a naturopath to do these tests. And sometimes they come back with things like eggs and oranges, chocolate, gluten, wheat, dairy. Some of these things are coming back and really, really common in these kids. My son has fructose intolerance. And in fact, most of these, I think when they tested the juvenile institutions for fructose intolerance, do you know that 100% of them had fructose intolerance? And they did a study, I believe it was a 4-hour test. I think it was more than that, and I should know this, but I'm kind of off the cuff here with these videos. But it was hours of a fructose intolerance test that they did on these kids, and it was showing that every single one of them had fructose intolerance. So there's even a sugar imbalance. We need to find out what's going on with these kids, instead of just pawning them off and saying, you're a little brat, or you're just angry. What's going on with your parents at home that you're so angry? What are they doing to you that's making you so angry? Why are they not disciplining you enough? And that's why you can't sit still in your seat. This is not a parenting problem. This is a This is a nutrient deficiency, an omega-3 deficiency. I'll talk about that in a second. And this is a common food IgG response to foods that never should be in our bodies in the first place. I know that wheat alone, we're hearing studies that the inflammation that's going on in the body, a lot of it has to do with what they're spraying on the wheat before they even harvest it and put it in the bread. So is it the bread, or is it the stuff they're spraying on the wheat before they make the bread? And now it's going into our bodies and wreaking havocs in these kids' lives. Omega-3s, which our brain needs the most of, we need these like essential fatty acids. We have so much omega-6 in our culture and not enough omega-3. So we're walking around with omega-6 heavy, right? Not enough omega-3s. And when we raise the omega-6, forget the diet, just raise the omega-3s in your diet, boom, you get a huge response in attention, focus, right? So you just give to these kids, and I see the difference. I work a lot with ADHD kids. Sometimes I just give them omega-3s to start, nutrients, and already their attention and focus is better. Okay, so let me tell you a little story about my son. He was getting kicked out of his class every single day, every day. And we were actually asked, would you consider homeschooling? Because he was causing that much trouble. We've never got him diagnosed, but we know that he has these issues, and we can say, you know what, but he's just, he gets embarrassed easily. And so when he gets embarrassed, he goofs off. So we can talk about, you know, working with his heart to find out why he's insecure. And, you know, we're very present parents with our kids. And one of the things that my husband does is what's called WIG, W-I-G, and it stands for, what's your win today? What are you, oh gosh, I can't remember now. WIG stands for win. I'll get the I in a second. And what are you grateful for is the G. And my son adds an E. It's what are you excited for? And I'll write up the WIG at the top of this video when I remember it. But what an amazing thing to do for our kids every single night. So here's what I did for my little guy. I gave him essential oils, and one of them is called In Tune. One of them is called Vetiver. One of them is called Balance, and another one is called Serenity. And I gave him these 4 oils, okay? And then I gave him omega-3s and nutrients, just a whole food nutrient, okay? We'll probably talk about nutrients in another talk, but whole food nutrients, because we don't want to put more synthetics in our bodies. So a whole food nutrient and omega-3s. I didn't give him omega-6s, I just give him omega-3s. And we did the WIG every night. And I had to talk to myself, because I realized that one of the things that he created in me was a gift of recognizing that I have control issues with him. And if I can't control a child with these symptoms, again, he's not diagnosed with ADHD, just has similar symptoms to it, then and it was causing me to just get angry, and then we'd both butt heads, you know. I realized that through my life coach, that's a gift that's showing me that I need control, and when I don't get control, I feel scared, and that's why I react. And he gave that gift to me, you see. And so I ended up saying thank you to him. And now when he within that time frame, when he was acting up, I didn't react so much, and he needed that from me as well. But within all of those things, do you know that he hasn't gotten kicked out of school since? Let me just tell you again what happened. He was getting kicked out of his classroom every single day. And after I did these things, he didn't get kicked out once. And that was in January to June. That was a big time frame. And I made myself a little roll-on bottle. I rolled the essential oils in the back of his neck, did it 3 times a day, because you have to be consistent with these oils. And I diluted it, right? Because you want to dilute it for safety with these kids. And I ended up putting it on in the morning before he left for school, once he got back from school, and once at night, 3 times a day. Boom. Now he carries it around with himself, and he puts it on, so he can do it 4 times a day. He is 12 years old. He was 11, now he's 12. And What a difference that made. The other difference in him was the foods that we got rid of. So I talked about bananas and I didn't finish my story, but for my oldest guy, you gave him a banana and he wants to eat his sibling. Sorry about the background noise, but, and he wanted to eat his sibling. Like he would want to push them. He just got so angry. And you see rage come out of these kids, and it would never happen as soon as he ate a banana. And that's the trick. The trick and the some, if you will, some of the confusion that's caused is that we don't yet see it right away, and so we don't connect the dots. It couldn't be the banana. He had that yesterday. 24 hours later, almost to the hour, I would see this happen in my little guy. And we ended up doing an elimination diet and got rid of all of the fruit, and he is great and grounded. My daughter, who's my secret weapon, she doesn't have any major issues, but when she has fruit, and we're going to talk about fruit in a whole other video, but when she has fruit, she is more emotional. So you know how we say, oh, our girls are just emotional and they just want their own way, and they're just strong, you know? Well, I've met strong people who can be really nice about it. I've met strong women who don't have to get temper tantrums. I've met strong girls who they're driven to do what they want and when they want, but they know boundaries and they play within them. Just because they're strong-willed doesn't mean that they have to be emotional about it. Just because they're strong-willed doesn't mean that they have to be angry and mean about it. And it's not something that we can just teach sometimes. Yeah, we can teach all we want, but you know those kids. You can tell them until you're blue in the face and say it nicely and say it well and say it 150 different times, but they just don't seem to get it. And so we want to pawn it off on this idea that they're just strong and they're just strong-willed and they're just stubborn and that's just their personality. But I disagree. I think we can have beautiful personalities and beautiful characters at the exact same time. So I hope that this helped one of you. I hope that this helped more than one of you. But whoever this helped, know that you are not alone. There's so many parents like you who just wonder, did I mess up somewhere? And I just want you to know and hear again that it's not your fault, but there's something that we can do. Now that we are aware, there's something that we can do. And I'm gonna break some of these down bit by bit as we go along in this video series. If you have something that you really wanna hear about or know more about, you let me know. And I'm gonna post today's, actually, you know what? I'm gonna just say it right here. Anybody who listens in today and just likes the page and leaves a comment, you're going to be put in a draw for a bottle of Intune, because this is my favorite oil for focus and attention, and I want to serve you with that. So I hope one of you get that. Have an amazing day, you guys, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.